Hello, everyone. This is Tasso over at Tasso Aquariums Incorporated. How you doing? Welcome to the fourth edition of this sort of a quick talk between myself and you guys out there about fish. So I asked people on my website, and I even on my Facebook, and I even shared to a couple of other Facebook sites. I'm looking at my dog, and I'm awaiting Chinese food. I asked people to send me some questions so that I could answer them for this type of format here, where I just simply answer questions on video using my MacBook or whatever the hell this is. So people helped out, and I got about 5 or 6 questions. So let's just jump right in with the questions from the people. First question, I'm just going to read them off the top. Now, there's going to be two parts to this, part one, part two. So the first part, I'm going to read the question. I'm going to give a quick opinion and maybe a quick answer. Then I'm going to go and do a little bit of quick research to come back with a nice solid answer because, you don't know everything, and I didn't look this stuff up necessarily. But let's go. Let's try. We'll try it out. That's what this is all about, is trying some new stuff and seeing what happens. I'm going to move over here. Let's take a look. So I did say I was going to mention people's names. Albert. Albert, I do know Albert. He's a nice guy. Him and his brother and his family have purchased fish from me before. Albert asks, what kind of biotope is possible using the Wallstat method given our New York City tap water? So number one, I don't know what the tap water has to do with anything as far as the Wallstat method is concerned or anything else. The tap water should be usable, dechlorinated, and you can set the pH to whatever you need using different types of chemicals, products, whatever you want to call them. I like to use CChem products when it comes to pH, like Bullseye, like CChem 7.0 or whatever they call that stuff. Neutral regulator. Don't mind me. This is a cigarette. Never mind. But I don't know what the tap water of New York City has to do with anything. You're going to have to dechlorinate this water. You may have to add some neutral regulator to it depending on what kind of biotope we are setting up. So that's really what. So that's part of this question. This question. Let's forget the tap water thing. Fine. Okay, we're out of there. If we need distilled water for any reason, we may need to think about that. But otherwise, we're using tap water. And we want to set up a biotope, well, any biotope you want. Now, the Wallstat method, if people don't know what that is, even I'm not 100% positive, because when it comes to these sorts of methods, I'm more familiar with the names used in saltwater than I'm used to the names used in freshwater. Wallstat method, I believe, is basically a tank that you're doing very, 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 very little work. You don't mess with the gravel. You barely do any water changes. I believe you do top off the tank. You probably don't add very many, if any, trace elements, but I do have to check. The plants basically are removing the nitrates, as well as there are other things going on in the tank, I assume, without necessarily knowing the Wallstat method. Why do I assume? I don't know if they're using any sort of a denitrification other than the plants, which will remove nitrates and phosphates and whatever waste in the water, liquefied, I guess. What's going to Is there going to be any bacteria kept in a sort of a state where it's not getting a lot of oxygen, et cetera, et cetera? So are we doing this method? Is that part of the Wallstat method? I'm not sure. I will find out. Usually some sort of a denitrification process which uses bacteria, anaerobic bacteria, cultivates it somewhere in the tank, usually is part of this no water change method, be it salt water, probably fresh water. So Albert, I'm going to get back to you on that question, but don't worry about your tap water, sir. You can do anything you want to it, basically. So I don't know what that has to do with the biotope. And Wallstat method, I don't know what that has to do with any sort of a biotope, but maybe there are pros and cons to it. Digging fish, most likely. We'll take a look. How would so AT Theo, AT what? How would you go about doing a Bucephalandra biotope, aka a Borneo biotope? Well, that's very self-explanatory, don't you think there, AT? If it's a Borneo biotope, then you're going to get animals and fish and plants that are from Borneo, which I believe is Malaysia. That you can go online and look it up. I did mention Bucephalandra. There's barbs that come out of Borneo. It's something you would have to look up. So we're probably looking at Malaysia. I guess the question would be to AT, how specific of a biotope do you want to set up? Is it going to be all the way down to the type of wood you're using? You know what I'm saying? So like, are you going to set up this supposed biotope tank and it's fine? You're going to have fish and plants from Borneo, Malaysia, let's say, but where is the driftwood from, for example? Is this just driftwood from North America? Or is it driftwood from Africa? So do you want to get really, really nutty? I mean, do you want to just get nutty with the fish, or do you want to get into the plants? And do you even want to get where you want the biotope, your aquarium, to basically be as close to possible to the real thing? Ask yourself that, or that could be your challenge, and maybe you can, once you're done with this tank, you can find someone who's going to find the mistakes in it. But I'm still going to return to this Borneo beautiful Andhra biotope and discuss it and give you a little bit more as far as what you could put in there and what comes from Borneo, what comes from Malaysia. Let's see, I'm going to go to the next question with 6 minutes. Michael asks, which plants would you recommend for a low light, medium flow aquarium? This, I should not have to come back to this. I should be able to answer this right now. So for low light, what I would suggest though is knowing exactly what kind of light you have, right? Because low light could mean a lot of things, and one man's low light could be another man's darkness. One man's low light could be very, very bright for somebody else. But low light plants, generally speaking, would be things like Anubias, things like Anubias, Java fern. Some of the mosses would be okay under a moderate to low light. Cryptocoryns tend to be okay. Bucephalandra tends to do pretty well in low light tanks, actually, I have found. But don't forget, don't just look at your light, look at your temperature. Some plants do better in cold water, some plants do better in warm water. And then medium flow, I mean, that's important to have good flow in the tank, and medium flow should be fine for almost all plants. I don't know which plants need it super, super high flow. I guess I could think of a couple like African fern, Bulbitis fern, I believe, is considered heavy flow. There may be other plants that prefer heavy flow. I could look into it. I'm not going to though, because I think I can answer that with things like Anubias, banana plants, cryptocoryns. And then when you get into Anubias, there's like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 different types of Anubias. Crypts, there's a whole bunch of different crypts. You can, again, we said banana plants. Bunch plants would be kind of tough. You'd have to try different things. Most things that are red are not going to do well in this sort of a low light situation. Bucephalandra should do very well in a low light situation. Some of the mosses, once they get accustomed to the light, should do well in this type of thing. Some of the lily bulbs or lotus bulbs or whatever will do okay in this sort of a thing. But again, color is going to be kind of crappy or not very red in the leaves. Let's go on to Victor Huang asks, Victor asks, how do you breed Sphaerictes valiante? This is a very nice fish. So Victor thought he was going to throw me a little bit of a curveball, but because I broke this in 2 parts, Victor, you can't throw me the curveball here. Sphaerictes valiante is also known as a samurai gourami. It's a dwarf gourami. This is a gourami that I was so hot for at one time until I finally literally got it, and then I was like, oof, what a difficult fish to keep. It is small, it is thin. Try thinking of a chocolate gourami that's a little thinner and probably going to come in very, very small. They're expensive. They tend to only really want to eat live foods. They will probably eat frozen food like frozen bloodworms, glass larvae, and such, but you're going to have to get them to eat that stuff. And same with dry food, or else suddenly this fish becomes a fish you can't go away for even a day. Maybe you can go away a day if you're dealing with the samurai gourami. It's a fish everyone should look up because the males are so beautiful. Or is it the female? How do you breed this fish? Most likely it breeds like a gourami. Now, some gouramis do other weird stuff like build nests at the bottom. And I'll look it up. I don't know. If people are breeding these fish, I doubt it. I bet everyone is collecting this fish from the wild. It is a very popular fish, and it is a fish I would love to see at full size. I've never seen it. I'll get back to Victor on that question. Last question, I believe, is from all the way from England. Dobbs wants to know, how do I get a mermaid? Do you mean half man, half? I fucked it up. Half woman, half fish? Yeah, those don't exist, sir. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this really quick 10 minutes that I've taken from you. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope I answered some questions. I hope I made my shout outs. I'm going to come back with part 2 and try to answer these questions, except for like 1 or 2 of them, like mermaids and low light plants. I'm going to try to answer them really well. Thank you very much. Look out for part 2. Take it easy.